Tell me the pros or cons of teaching English in Japan.
Okay, so pros.
English teachers tend to have a bad reputation.
I've heard of it.
Yes, because
Hey guys, hi there, I'm Takashi from Japan. So today I'm going to interview English teachers in Japan. So I interviewed someone who is working in a public school, Eikawa school, someone who has their own English teaching company as well. Okay, let's get started. Okay, thank you for your time. Where from?
I'm from Michigan in the US. I've been in Japan for just about 9 years.
And you teach English, right?
I used to teach English. Currently, I'm still a teacher, but I teach at an international school teaching music.
How did you find English teaching job in Japan first, 9 years ago?
I actually was teaching English in China at the time. I taught there for 3 years also. And I heard about the school I first taught at here in Japan through my sister. She was also teaching at that school. I was able to visit her and see what her school was like and decided I wanted to move to Japan. Yeah, it was through my sister that I found out about my school.
Okay. I've heard many stories from my friends, like, finding English teaching job through mutual friends or friends who already work in the company. Is it true? Is it common in Japan for foreigners? Like, yeah.
Kind of true. Or at least there's a few main websites that people use to find English teaching jobs, accept people from anywhere in the world, and you don't need a connection necessarily. But a lot of people do find jobs through friends or relatives. That is a pretty common thing from what I hear. The one that I always use, which was called gaijinpot.com, that one seemed to have pretty good options, and I think most of the companies are legitimate. I found jobs through Gaijinpot. My second job in Tokyo, my first job in Tokyo, second job in Japan was found through Gaijinpot. Yeah, the job was fine. It was a legitimate company and everything. So a lot of the time people do have those kinds of worries, but with the more like established websites, the well-known ones, you should be pretty much fine.
What do you think is the pros or cons of teaching English in Japan? Specifically, just because it's Japan. Yeah, you have any?
Big pro would be that you get to enter Japan. You're supplied with a visa and you can come to Japan. That's a big draw for a lot of people. You're in the country, you can explore, you can learn the language, you can do so many things. Con of teaching English in Japan is that English teachers tend to have a bad reputation.
I've heard of it.
Yes, because so many English teachers use that as just a way to get in Japan and then have fun.
Easiest way to come to Japan? Is it true?
I think it's the easiest way, yeah.
Okay.
A lot of teachers will come to Japan. They don't take their job seriously. They don't value the students that they're teaching. They don't value their school. They just do the bare necessities, the bare minimum to, fulfill their requirements at work. And then they just go wild on the weekends. And what you want to do in your free time is that's yours, your thing.
Right.
But they tend to be the kind of foreigner that is loud, that is disruptive in public. They tend to do all these things that kind of get looked down on by Japanese people, and that reflects on the rest of us, all foreigners, not even just English teachers, but all foreigners in general. Because I think a lot of Japanese people assume that if you're a foreigner in Japan, you're an English teacher. Another might be that it is a bit more difficult, I think, to learn Japanese, because at your work, a lot of schools are like this. Not all schools are the same, but my school, you could not speak Japanese with the students.
Because you teach English.
Right, you're teaching them English. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you're not able to speak Japanese, and you have to tell the students, stop speaking Japanese in the classroom, it becomes like an English environment, which is good for the kids, but then you aren't provided with opportunities to learn. And that's fine. You can take the time outside of your work to learn Japanese. But when you're at work almost 24/7, which is a lot of schools, unfortunately, they really work you hard. It feels like your whole life is just English, English, English. And so you don't get the chances, even outside of work, to enroll in a class, make Japanese friends who can practice the language with you. I would come home from work and just be so exhausted I wouldn't want to do anything. I wouldn't want to enroll in a class. I wouldn't want to go out and explore because I was just so exhausted. And so my Japanese level was pretty basic for a lot of my time in Japan, those first few years. And so I would say that's another con that people don't really think about. You get excited to come to Japan and you think, oh, I'm going to learn the language so quickly and be fluent and, interact with Japanese people, make friends, be able to watch anime with no subtitles. But it doesn't happen because it's just really difficult to learn language.
Even, I have lots of friends who goes to language school
Yeah.
studying Japanese, but they don't speak Japanese yet.
Hmm.
So if you're English teacher in Japan and then you don't speak Japanese, like during the weekdays, 9 to 5, like
Yeah,
it's definitely more difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I kind of wish I had been able to come to Japan
As a student.
as a student. Yeah. That's what so many foreigners do. They come as a language student and they learn like a decent amount of the language before they move on to work in Japan. Or maybe they do both. They're students and work part-time or something like that. But a lot of people don't have that opportunity. They just come straight to teach English. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years down the line, you're still struggling to like hold basic conversations with people.
Can we talk about salary, if you don't mind? It's okay. Like, is it good money? Just in general, teaching English in Japan, is it good money or?
I think as a first year teacher, the money is not great. I think it really depends on where you're at, what qualifications you have going into a job. A lot of schools require a bachelor's degree. That's like the most basic, qualification. That's going to get you a very basic salary as an English teacher in Japan.
Working in a Japanese public school, teaching English 5 days a week, like how much do you get?
210,000 or to 230,000 yen a month.
That's pretty much like average salary,
Yeah.
just in general in Japan.
Just in general,
Right.
okay.
Last question, do you speak Japanese?
ちょっとできる。
Like, how did you learn? Like, can you answer in Japanese?
Beginner class. Sendai ni, when I was in Sendai. Very, very big. I'm sorry. I don't know if I can do it in Japanese.
Okay, thank you for your time. Where from?
Italy, Rome.
How long have you been in Japan?
Well, like total 3 years, but I worked here for 2.5 years.
You teach English, right?
Yes, I'm an English teacher. In Japan, I was working for an eikaiwa. So,
Can you
like,
explain what eikaiwa is?
all right, it's like a school where Japanese people can learn English through conversation. So it's mainly conversation. So you have to be very open and friendly. In my eikaiwa, we only had adults. We didn't have children in my eikaiwa.
So Japanese adults who want to improve their English, they pay eikaiwa, and then that's kind of school, is it?
Yeah, I had both like private lessons, like one-on-one, always with adults, and group lessons, but like small groups so that you can still have conversation. But like small groups, like 4, 5, 6 people max, and it's always like extra. So usually people who wanted to improve to go on a vacation or for their job. Exactly. As a non-native English teacher, because I'm Italian, it was a little hard for me to get a job, even though I have a BA and an MA.
Oh, because you're not native English speaker?
Exactly. And like that was a little bit like disappointing because sometimes I feel like if you're a native, it doesn't mean that you're a good teacher. But I'm a good teacher even though I'm not a native, and it was very hard for me to get a work visa when I was in Italy. So I had to get a student visa first, and then I was able to find a job. So that was a little bit tiring, but I did it. The money, you said, like, how's the salary? I couldn't complain. I wasn't rich. If you're just doing that for an eikaiwa, you're not getting rich. Like, hey, but you can definitely get by, and like I could travel, etc.
Tell me the pros or cons of teaching English in Japan.
Okay, so pros, definitely you get to live in Japan, so it's pretty cool. Also, if you teach an eikaiwa, so you teach adults and you talk a lot, like they have to talk with you for like 1 or 2 hours a week, you get to know the Japanese culture a lot. Because at an eikaiwa, as a teacher, you shouldn't be the one who speaks. The students should speak. So they tell you about their lives, their past, their like the things they like. So you really get close to your students. Also, your students will give you like some random presents like fruit. At first, I was so like surprised when it was like my birthday and they were like, hey, here are 2 peaches. Here, 3 apples.
Maybe because it's you.
Oh, maybe. No. No, they're nice. They're
Okay.
nice. They're also adults.
Nice. So that means like you get access to talk to local people while you're getting paid.
So that's pros. Cons, well, as I said, if you work for a Japanese company, sometimes it can be a lot working hours. Also, like not having time off. I had 10 days a year, which is not normal in Italy. 10 and sometimes I wasn't able to take off all the 10 days. So I could only get like 8 and I'd go to work when I wasn't feeling good because I didn't want them to like deduct my days off.
What's it like learning Japanese while you teaching English in Japan?
Difficult. When your friends know that you're an English teacher, Japanese friends, sometimes, you know, when you're trying to learn and communication is hard, you switch to English. Like you start in Japanese, like, hey, what did you do today? What did you eat? And then when you want to go deep, it's like, yeah, let's switch to English because all of my friends can speak English. So I'd say it's a little bit difficult.
So-
In the Eikaiwa, you only speak English.
So you speak Japanese?
まあ、
That's my question.
やってみたいんですけど、わからなかったら英語で話しましょう。ね
大丈夫、大丈夫。英語話せない日本人の友達はいますか？
言います。
じゃあ、その人と話すときは全部に日本語。
全部日本語。
おお。
ゆうたさん、ありがとう。
ゆうさん。
ゆうた先生、ありがとう。
誰？
私のシェアハウスに住んでる人。
あ、なるほどな。あ、なるほど。Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Okay, thank you for your time. Where from?
I'm from LA. Hi, everyone.
どうぞ。
My name's Lena Bambino. I'm an educator here in Tokyo. I teach mainly kids. I teach at a cram school, and I also teach some people privately.
How long have you been in Japan?
8 years.
8 years.
Yes.
And you're half Japanese, right?
I'm half Japanese.
Okay.
I'm half Japanese and Italian Irish.
And from Los Angeles.
From LA.
Okay. You're half Japanese and you have Japanese passport. You don't need to teach English to stay in Japan, right? It's not like that, right?
No.
Right?
Not
So why are you still teaching English? Like you like teaching English or?
I do like teaching English. I think it's a very rewarding job. Nothing compares to seeing a kid smile when they're able to understand me and communicate in English.
Have you taught English to adults?
Yes, I have, but only to people that I know or people that I know of. I think in Japan, there are many websites or platforms where you can connect with strangers and teach them privately. But I'm very uncomfortable putting my information out there and meeting strangers in public, even though it's in public, because I've seen many people go through some unfortunate, I don't want to call it,
Situation?
incidents. Sorry, I'm very uncomfortable talking about it because I don't want to share too much of their experience. But I think it's very important to know the risks that comes with meeting someone one-on-one.
In the coffee shop or something, right?
Yes,
Random
but
people.
yes, it can be scary because sometimes I know a student got really obsessed with my friend and kind of followed her home. She was able to kind of tell him off, but those situations are pretty common. So I feel like
Like from Japanese guy to like foreign girl, right? That's the case. I have friends who explain it like that. Yeah.
yeah, so it is common. So just know the risks. Yeah.
Is there anything you need to know before coming to Japan as an English teacher? Is there any advice you give to someone who just started English teaching in Japan?
Don't just put yourself in a box and think that's the only job available, because if you look into other jobs, there are other jobs available even though you don't speak Japanese. Yeah, so I say look outside the box.
That's interesting because I think most of people coming to Japan and teaching English because that's the only and the easiest way. And but
Actually not, right?
Yeah.
So I love the job, but I'm sure not everyone will love it or like it. So just keep researching. There's a website. I forgot what the website is called, but you can look up different websites and they do have other options available. So make sure to check those out.
thank you so much.
Thank you. ありがとうございます。
Thank you for your time. Where from?
I'm from England.
England. You teach English in Japan.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. What kind of English teaching is it?
I have my own company and I teach lessons online.
Can you explain your experience with teaching English? Like when you came to Japan, what did you do first, and then how come you ended up, like teaching pronunciation?
Sure. I started teaching English in a school, an international school for children between 0 to 16. And then I started working more with adults, and then I created my own company, and then started to progress online, and then the pandemic, so it kind of fitted nicely for me.
I mean, obviously, there's so many English teachers in Japan, but like not many people have their own company and make money by themselves. And then you're the one who's do, right? Like, how did you do it?
Great question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I before I left my job, I created a following online, So I began the process of creating a community. And my original thing was just to help people, but then eventually it ended up helping me with my transition out of my job. During the transition, I did 40 hours at work, and then I also did 20 to 30 hours of my own business so I could build up the company. So when I left, I actually transitioned nicely.
So you already had like your foundation already.
I tried to build the foundation before leaving. Because I have a family, I want to be as secure as possible. So yeah.
At first, you were a teacher in international school, right? How did you get a job in England first, or you came to Japan and you find a job, or like?
So I did teach some people in England English, but that was a very individual case by case, one-on-one. But then when I came to Japan, I searched a lot, and I tried one other job beforehand, and then I moved to a full-time job. Online, I just searched any kind of job search engine, but the key one was Gaijin Pop. Yeah.
I've heard of it, but like it's quite popular.
For foreign people who come to Japan, I think it's quite popular because obviously it's completely in English. So I think it helps a lot of people. Otherwise, there's some difficulties, I think, yeah.
Teaching English, does it help to learn Japanese for you?
It's a great question. So,
What do you think?
you know, maybe I have a slightly more unique situation than most foreigners that come here, but I have a family, I have 2 kids, and I'm an English teacher. And my English teaching is my business, not anyone else's. So I have to prepare myself and make sure I get enough clients, you know. So I'm using English a lot, especially on social media. Then at home, for my kids, I'm speaking in English all the time. You know, I want them to become as bilingual as possible. So
Is your wife?
my wife is Japanese, and they go to Japanese schools.
Okay.
So they're speaking Japanese. The only chance is at home. So for me, it's like 24/7 English, but I still, those core things that I believe in where you need to be putting in some effort each day, even if it's 10 minutes, I apply that to myself as well in Japanese. So I think it's important to do.
Thank you so much.
No worries, thank you.
Okay, thank you for watching so far. How was it? That was interesting. I hope this video will help you if you are planning to come into Japan as an English teacher. Okay, anyway, thank you for watching. If you like this video, click like button. Please subscribe to my channel. And if you want me to make video about specific occupation in Japan like this video, please leave a comment too. See you next time.